I'll get that worksheet turned into you in a little while.
That'd be great.
Still got some questions later. I'd like to get a good grade.
So the last 2 days. Morning, Joni. We have worked on adding and subtracting fractions, and those fractions have all had the same denominator, so we haven't had to work too hard. Should have been pretty easy. However, today's assignment is where we add in those unlike denominators. Okay? So, in today's assignment, we will be working on getting that common denominator so we can add and subtract. In order to do that, we find the least common denominator, also called the least common multiple of our denominators. We write each fraction as an equivalent fraction, so whatever you multiply the bottom by or divide the bottom by, you also have to do to the top. Same thing we've done for years. Whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. Then we add and subtract across the top. Denominator stays the same, then we reduce. Okay? Easy peasy lemon squeezy. 5 steps and you're done for every problem. So, on the back side, you will see this example.
That's pretty easy.
Right? Absolutely. What's our common denominator between 5 and 15? But I know what you're thinking.
5.
It's not 5.
10.
What is our common denominator between 5 and 15?
It's gotta be 6.
15. It's going to be 15.
10.
So close. Not 5, not 6, not 10. 15. Okay? Because we can change our 5 into a 15 by doing what? This is where Valeria says we're going to use a 3. We're going to times by 3. So if we change that by multiplying by 3, we can also do the same to the top, because whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So when we multiply that fraction, our equivalent fraction, that's what that's called, our equivalent fraction of 2/5 is 6/15. So now we have 6/15.
Oh my.
Oh my what?
I don't know.
Don't look at this part right here. That's just the original one, okay? So don't let that freak you out. Here is our new fraction that we got when we multiplied. We dropped down the rest of our problem. What is 6 plus 8? 14. Our denominator stays the same. Our new problem, or our answer is 14/15. Cool. The hardest part is going to be getting that same denominator. Once you get that done, add straight across, and you're done. Can we reduce 14/15? No, we cannot. Here's our next one. 2/3 plus 1/8. What can we use as a common denominator? What is our least common denominator? What can we use as a common denominator between 3 and 8? If you don't know, we can Christmas tree this beast out. I got a 3. I got an 8. This is just 1 and 3. This is 2 and 4 and 2 and 2. So I end up with 2, 2, 2. 1 and 3, do they have anything in common? No, so I just have to take 3 times 8, which is 24. What's that look for, Mason?
How in the hell did you do that?
Well, if you would have came to school for the last 4 days, this is what we've been working on. Okay?
It's okay, I'll just type it on my mind.
So we have a 3, a 2, and a 2, and a 2, and we say there's nothing in common here. If there was something in common, we would cross them out, but there's not. So we just have to multiply these two numbers to get our least common denominator. So we find out that's a 24. If we're changing our denominators to 24, what do we have to take this fraction times? 8. And 2 times 8 is? So we have 16 24ths. And we're changing the second one to 24. So what do we have to take this fraction times? 3. 3 times 1 is? And then we do what? Add straight across. Yep, I got that memo. I'm sorry. You should not be sorry. Because I have so many Christmas shirts. We only have 17, nope, 16, nope, 15 school days left till Christmas. And of those 15 school days, we have 5 game days. So I have more Christmas shirts than I have days to wear Christmas shirts.
Oh.
So I must start wearing my Christmas shirts now.
Whatever that means.
You put too much thought into wearing clothes. I looked around on my floor. Yep, those are it. That's it.
Yep. That's that easy.
Grab them off my floor.
So is 19 24ths in lowest term? Oh, I shouldn't show you that. 19 24ths. Yes, it is in lowest term, simplest form. Here we go. Now we do the same thing when we subtract. We got to have that common denominator. Make our fractions equivalent, only instead of easy addition, it's subtraction. Oh. So, it already tells you what your lowest common denominator is. 33. 33. So, what do I have to take my first fraction times to get an equivalent fraction if I have 33 as my denominator? 3. So, my top is 30. What am I taking my second fraction times if my common denominator is 33? 11. So, my top is 22. What is 30 minus 22?
8.
Blake, what are you looking at on your Chromebook?
Nothing.
You guys shouldn't even have your Chromebooks open. Everybody should close their Chromebooks.
What?
Because it's not time to work on your assignment. It's time to go over notes. Good. I'm glad you're not working on your assignment. Close your Chromebook.
You already have yours loaded up there, mister. This just loaded up.
So is 8 33rds in lowest terms? Absolutely it is. Here's our what? Oh, look at that. What's our common denominator going to be? 33. Looks kind of familiar, doesn't it? Oh, yeah. What am I taking my first fraction by if my what am I multiplying my first fraction by if my common denominator needs to be 33? 11. So my top number is 22. What am I multiplying my second fraction by if my common denominator is 33? 3. So my top number is 30. How is this different from the one we just done? They flipped it. They flipped it around. So we now have 22 33rds minus 30 33rds instead of 30 minus 22. What is that going to give us when we subtract? A negative. So what is my answer? Negative 8 33rds. Same process. We just need to realize that even when we're subtracting, we can have negatives. Okay? They're not always going to end up with that positive answer. Here's our next one. We have 3 fractions in a row that we are subtracting. So I have 3 numbers that I have to find that least common denominator for. My numbers are 8, 3, and 12. What would be my common denominator for 8, 3, and 12? If you don't know, put them in some Christmas trees. See what I did there, Mason? I wrote down all of their prime factors. Now we go back and we find the one that has the most. So, threes. Each of these just have 1 3. So I circle one and I can cross out the other. This one has 3 2s. This one has less than 3 2s, so those don't count. What did we say 3 times 2 times 2 times 2 was? We had this one earlier. 24. It is 24. Is 24 a multiple of 12? It absolutely is. So we're using 24 as our common denominator. So we're switching all of those to a 24 for the denominator. If I have 5 8s and I need to switch it to a 24 denominator, what do I have to multiply my 5 by? 3. So that becomes 15. I'm going to tell you too many answers. So I have 15 24ths. If I have 3 on the bottom and I need to change that to a 24 as my denominator, what do I multiply my top by? Laura, focus. 8. So that becomes 8 24ths. And then I have 12 on the bottom. I want to make it a 24 on the bottom. Times 2. 2 times 1 is 2. So now I have 15 24ths minus 8 24ths minus 2 24ths. So let's do some math. The bottom's going to stay 24, right? It never changes. The denominator stays the same. So I have 15 minus 8 minus 2. 5 over 24. Is that in lowest terms? It is. I feel like if you guys were taking some notes, you'd know what to do on your assignment a little better, but I could be wrong.
Take a picture and roll on.
So now I have the whole number 5, and I'm subtracting y over 4. What do I have to do to this one? Let's put a 1 under the 5. Let's put a 1 underneath that 5. Now I can find a common denominator because I have a denominator of 1 and a denominator of 4. What is my common denominator going to be? 4. We can just use a 4. So I have to take 1 times what to get to 4? 4. So I also then have to multiply my 5 times 4. So that's going to give me 20 over 4 minus y over 4. Can I combine 20 and a y? Can't do it. So I just have to leave it as 20 minus y. I cannot simplify that any further. On the top, over the top of 4 as my denominator.
Oh my gosh, I know what that is.
Yeah.
What are you teaching 6th graders this too?
Kim doesn't come to 6th grade.
No, I got moved on to someone else.
Okay, now we need to talk about greater than and less than. So we're comparing these fractions, which is greater, which is less. In order to do this, when we look at fractions, just all willy-nilly out there in the wild, it's hard to tell which is greater and which is less. So we have to make them with equivalent denominators so we can tell which is greater than and which is less than. If I have an 8 and a 40, what is my common denominator going to be? You're thinking right, but my common denominator is not going to be 5, but I'm going to multiply my first fraction by 5 to make my common denominator a 40. Right? So we're going to multiply that times 5. Whatever I do to the bottom, Blake, gotta do to the top. What is 3 times 5? So which of these is a greater fraction? So I can just stick a little symbol like that in between those two.
Pretty easy way to see that.
Right? Oh, and then it says they reduced it back down. Here we go. Same thing, different numbers. This time we have negative numbers. Remember, once we start dealing with negative numbers, the closer they are to 0, the greater they are. Okay? So negative 1 is bigger than negative 2.
We're going to eat that -3 then.
Oh, yeah?
-3.
What is our common denominator that we're going to use before a 7 and a 3? 21. So let's change both of these to 21. What do I multiply 7 by to get to 21? Whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. What do I multiply 3 by to get to 21? Whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So now I have a negative 6 21s and a negative 7 21s. So thinking back to those negative numbers and how they line up on right. So we're going to, which one is greater? The negative 6 21s is greater. Because 6 is closer to 0 than that 7 is. We have to remember that with those negative numbers, it seems backwards. Finally, we have problems where it's going to say, what is x plus y? If x equals a 1/3 and y is a negative 4/5. Just a second, I need to catch up.
That's what that means. If it says x plus y equals 1/3 plus negative 4/5, it means that x is 1/3. Because it doesn't explicitly tell us that here, but
On our notes?
yeah.
Yeah, no, because I just copied and pasted that off of a website.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's what that means.
That's what that means, yes.
Okay.
After I have inserted these numbers in for x and y.
Okay.
Yes. So after we replace those, we have 1/3 plus a negative 4/5. What is our common denominator for 3 and 5? 15. Whatever I do to the bottom, I also have to do to the top. So that gives me 5/15 plus a negative 12/15. We have to subtract. When I subtract 5 and 12, what do I get? What kind of a 7? A negative 7. So our answer is that negative 7/15. Questions?
Nope.
Okay, your assignment is online. Power School has been updated, so you can see what I am missing from you.